Welcome to the Cooking with Gerald show. On today's episode, I'll be making some good old-fashioned Southern cornbread dressing made with chicken broth. If this is your first time visiting my channel, welcome. And if this isn't your first time, welcome back. Before we get started, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, go ahead and click the thumbs up for this video. If you want to get notified each time I do upload a new video, please go ahead and click that notification button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making cornbread dressing. To get started, I actually use chicken backs. Some people may use turkey necks or chicken necks to do theirs. The way that I make mine is with chicken backs, which these are actually very, very cheap. For a package of like 3 or 4, they're only like about $2. And I use these because this is what I was taught to use, but because you can cook them for a long time. It's more so dark meat. Doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones, but the bones is what gives the broth flavor as well. You can use this if you're making, chicken stock, or if you're making chicken and noodles. You can use the same thing, and then you can either pull the meat off the bone, take them out, or else you can just leave it the way that it is. So I have my chicken backs, I have chicken gizzards, I have chicken liver, I have my cornbread, which I just made. I had to crumble it up. I have my holy trinity, which is bell pepper, onion, and celery that I've already diced up. I'm going to use half of this when I do the broth, and then put the other half in as I'm mixing in the dressing. You need eggs, poultry season. I use rosemary, thyme, chicken bouillon, butter, and water. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and crumble up my cornbread and get my my meat in my stock pot to get it going, and I'll be back. Oh, and I also forgot, I'm going to need some bread. What I normally do is I'll either use some old bread, like when you have the butts of your bread left over. I usually will take those and put them in the freezer so that when I'm ready to make dressing, I can actually use that. Today, what I'm going to do is probably get some day-old French bread and use that. Or you can buy the cornbread in a pack. The cornbread that's dried, like croutons, from the store as well. I'm going to use straight up cornbread, and I'm also going to use some regular bread. All right, guys, so I'm back. So to get started with the dressing, here's the ingredients you're going to need. This is celery that I have cut up, onion, butter, some eggs, all-purpose seasoning, some black pepper, poultry seasoning, sage, rosemary, ground rosemary, and ground thyme. Some holy trinity, which is bell pepper, onion, and celery. That's what I initially had cut up, but I wanted to put some plain regular celery and onion in there in addition to that, because I don't need to put that much bell pepper in there. I have chicken livers and chicken gizzards. I have chicken backs. They've all been nice clean. And I have my cornbread. There'll be a link in the description that you can click on to get the recipe for the cornbread. And I have some butter. The butter is going to make it, the broth, kind of rich. Also have the Maggi chicken bouillon that I'm going to add. If you don't have that, you can actually add chicken broth. And I have some day-old bread, some French bread that I got from Walmart that I'm going to cut up and add to the cornbread. So I'll go ahead and get started by getting my veggies sauteed. All right, so I'm going to drop a half a stick of the butter in here. And with that, I'm going to add my onions. celery. And some of my holy trinity, which is the bell pepper, onion, and celery. And this is like yellow, green, and red bell peppers, and orange I have in there. All right, one thing with this, when you're cooking stuff like this, it's kind of hard to put it into a recipe because it's going to be based upon, I guess, you, which I guess you can do it within a recipe, but it's pretty much kind of all by feel. That's the way I normally cook when it comes to stuff like this. So I'm going to go ahead and let this be sweat down and saute some, and I'll be back. All right, so the veggies have sweated down some. Go ahead and throw the rest of this butter in here. And all the seasonings, once again, like I said, are going to be to taste. So I'm going to go ahead and add pepper. I like a lot of pepper in my dressing. So I'm going to say that's about 2 teaspoons. And once the broth is done, you can actually check for seasoning again. This is some of my all-purpose seasoning. About a tablespoon of that because I am adding the chicken bouillon. Which I'll be adding about 1/4 of a cup of that because of how much liquid we're going to have in here. All right, so you have poultry seasoning. I'm trying to realize this one is not open. About a tablespoon of that. About a tablespoon of sage. Turn this down. About 2 teaspoons of thyme. Two teaspoons of rosemary. Four cups of water. Let me taste this real quick. Gonna go ahead and add my chicken. This is gonna make a really good broth because of all this chicken that I do have. Go ahead and add my chicken gizzards and livers. With the chicken gizzards and livers, I actually cut those up when they're finished and put them inside of the dressing. Some people cook them and just make the giblet gravy from it. We don't. So I'll go ahead and cover this up with water. About 8 cups of water. I may end up putting a little bit more in there as it boils down. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a top on that. And let that cook for about an hour to an hour and a half, and I'll be back. All right, guys, so my meat is done, but as you can see all this grease on top of here? So I'm gonna go ahead and skim as much of this as I can off of here, and I'll be back. All right, guys, so I'm back. It's been a few hours. I did skim the fat off the top of the broth, which look at all that grease. And the reason it's so greasy is because those chicken backs have a lot of fat on them, but that's what gives it flavor. So after I skimmed them out, I actually went and skimmed out everything that was, or fished out everything that was in there so I can get out my gizzards and my livers. And then this is pretty much the veggies and a little bit of the meat that's left over. And then this is all of the chicken meat right here. Now with this chicken meat, I don't put chicken meat back in, I don't put it in my dressing. I don't like it like that. If you do, all you have to do is just pick the meat off the bone and chop it up if you want, and then throw it back in there. This is also good to use for like chicken and noodles. If you want to make chicken and noodles or chicken noodle soup, you know, or even in some type of stew or something like that, you can actually use this chicken. The broth actually turned out very, very good. I'm very, very satisfied and very happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up because it's about 3:30 in the morning. And then tomorrow I'll go ahead and put the dressing together. I have my breadcrumbs from the French bread mixed in with my cornbread, and I'm going to leave this open. I'm not going to cover it up, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want it to dry out. When it dries out, then it'll absorb the broth a lot better. So until tomorrow, we'll go ahead and finish putting this together. Okay, guys, today I'm going to show you how to make the perfect boiled eggs. So I have my pot with some water in it, cold water. I'm going to start with cold water. I have my eggs. Then I'm going to turn my stove on high. Now, once this comes to a boil, which I'm going to go ahead and do anyway, I'm going to put my top on here now. Once this comes to a boil, I'll turn the stove off, leave the top on, and set a timer for 15 minutes. And every single time you do this, you will make perfect, bright yellow, beautiful boiled eggs. So we'll be back. Okay, guys, so the eggs are boiling. Put the top back on. Turn the stove off. Set my timer. 15 minutes. And we shall return. All right, guys, so it's been 15 minutes. These are our eggs. Run some cold water on it. Because it is hot. When you're cracking an egg, you always want to take, excuse me, the part of the egg that has the longest tip, because there's an air pocket right there. I used to do it on both ends. See how you see the air pocket right there? When you do that, it makes the egg a lot easier to peel. And you can even do it when you're doing it running under cold water. Or water, period, it'll do that. All right, so the egg. Show you how perfect this is. Look at that. Perfect. No green, no half done yolk, but perfect. That's it. Perfectly boiled, hard boiled eggs. If you want to do soft boiled, you just want to do them for, leave them in there for about 10, I'd say about 11 minutes, 10 to 11 minutes, versus the 15 minutes. I said for 10 minutes, and then if you want the hard boil, leave them in there for 15. Till next time, stay blessed. Okay, guys, so I am back. It has been 2 days since I made my stock. What I've done is I've skimmed the fat off the top. I left just a little bit because you don't want to take all of it off of my broth. Skimmed out all my livers and gizzards, and as a result took out some of my veggies too, which you don't have to put these back in there, but I'm going to, because that's just the way that I do. Some people will put fresh cut up celery and onion in there and then cook it, add it into the stuff, into the dressing, and cook it with the dressing. I'm not doing that because this is actually very, very flavorful. Very, very flavorful, so I'm gonna use that. I have my cornbread that's been sitting in this bowl for 2 days, dried out, as well as my French bread. I have my boiled eggs, chicken livers, and chicken gizzards. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Just a matter of pretty much just putting this together. Now, you say chicken liver, chicken gizzards, boiled eggs. Yes. Some people don't do theirs that way. My family's from the South. This is the way we make dressing. Some people will take and put a raw egg inside of the dressing, which kind of makes it like a, I shouldn't say a custard, but more so kind of like a custard, because it'll bring it together and it'll bring it together so that it's not dry. However, I'm not doing that. Like I said, we use boiled eggs. And this is going to be way more than enough cornbread and breadcrumbs, which is fine, because I'm actually going to make some seafood dressing too. It's like a crab, shrimp dressing. All right, so I'm going to start with this. And if we need to, I'll add some more to that. All right, so I'll add some of the eggs. Actually, I'm adding all of it. Eggs, gizzards, as well as livers. And I'm also adding my veggies back in here. And I did go back and reheat my stock. And the reason that I did that was because I wanted to make sure that it did saturate the cornbread. All right. And don't worry, I have some more stock in the refrigerator. That wasn't all. This isn't all of it, which looks like I might have to use some of that. Because you don't want dry dressing. You want your dressing to be very loose. Make sure all the bread has been coated. Then I'm going to get my potato masher so that I can work this liquid into this dressing. Because you don't want big chunks of cornbread or bread in there. You want everything to be real fine. See how that's making a difference? On this side versus on that side. Excuse me. And making something like this, I actually make up a lot of it because I usually will freeze it. Whenever I cook greens, dressing, chili, I always make a real big pot of it. And for the dressing, I'll make it up, but I won't cook it. Put it in the freezer when I want some dressing. All I gotta do is pull the freezer bag out, let it thaw out, and it's good. And then throw it in a pan and put it in the oven, and it's good to go. With the greens, I usually will cook those until they're all the way done, and then put them in freezer bags as well, or containers, and do the same thing. And the same thing with the chili. As a matter of fact, I do a lot of stuff like that because I'm real busy, and I prefer to eat my own food than to be going out somewhere trying to eat fast food, because usually it's not to your satisfaction. You got to sit and argue with people about the food that you're paying for, because it's not the way that you want it, or not the way that it's being advertised. So to avoid all of that drama, more than likely, I will cook my own food and take my own lunch when I'm out and about. All right, so you see how this has come together, very much so. Another thing with this too, tastes better the older that it gets. Usually what I'll do is let this sit in the refrigerator for a couple days. And then I'll cook it, or else I'll bag it up, because it gives all the seasonings more time to permeate the dressing. See, this is what you want. You want it to be kind of loose like this, soupy. I probably could put a little bit more liquid in here, but I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna let it sit for about 30, 45 minutes so that the bread can absorb all of the liquid. And then I'll come back and I'll see if I need to add some more liquid to it. But from what it looks like right here, we should be good. This is the consistency that you want. Like that. So I'll be back. All right, guys, this has been sitting for about 30 minutes. And it looks like I'm not gonna need any more liquid to add to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and cook off a small batch, and I'll be back. I've checked for seasoning. I'm gonna add just a little bit more sage. Not much. You wanna be very careful, because this stuff will, if you put too much sage in there, it will taste chalky and kind of bitter. So you wanna be careful with that. Add just a little bit more thyme and a little bit more rosemary. About a half of a teaspoon. And also another tip, it's best to use rubbed sage and not the ground sage like I have in here. However, I didn't have any, but I did have some fresh sage, and I didn't want to use that experiment because I've never used it before. I usually will use the rubbed sage, excuse me, or the ground sage. So just add a little bit more pepper in there as well. Go ahead and taste. That's fine. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and spray. Connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All right, so I'm gonna bake this on 375 for about 45 minutes to an hour. I'll check back. You wanna leave it uncovered because you want it to have a nice crispy crust, and you want the liquid to evaporate so that it's just moist and not soupy like this. So we'll be back. All right, guys, so here we go. It is done. See that nice crispy crust, but it's still soft in the middle. Look at how moist that is. See that, guys? See how moist this is? And very delicious. This is about 375 for about 45 to 50 minutes. Put a little bit of my giblet gravy on top of here. Just delicious, guys. Till next time, I'm out.